This week we're joined by Tom Crotty from Carlow Rugby Club and James Blanchfield from Kilkenny Rugby Club. Johnny Tobin is off doing rugby again. So we'll wait for him. Hopefully he'll be back next week to chat to us.
He's up in Carton House, I think, is he, with the Irish team?
I think he's messing with us, yeah. I think he's up doing stuff like that and he's just pretending he's busy with other stuff. Lads, you're all back in action this weekend. The weekend off last weekend. The women were out all right. I suppose we'll start with the women, actually. Kilkenny, was it against De La Salle, Palmerston? Yeah, on that. How'd that go, James?
It went well. In fairness to them, like they're probably the results like that, and a really good result against a much stronger Tallaght side 2 weeks ago. And they were probably, for speaking to Mags, they were probably going up to De La Salle in hope more than anything. And they turned out it was a 35 points to 5 win. And the core of the team is coming from last year's under-18 girls team, which is brilliant. And they're just performing and they're playing with no pressure. They're just going out and playing their rugby. They're enjoying it, and probably the pace of the game. And I think they're down in Division 4, Division 5 this year. The pace now is probably suiting them to make the transition from under-18s through. Now there's a couple of season campaigners there as well. Tina Wright, who's normally a hooker or back row, she's playing scrum half at the moment. So she can give it a little bit of stability there from them. Another girl, Rosie Miller, in the back row. She's from Scotland, but she's gone out with a local lad here, Rob Kelly, who played first for us for a few seasons. So, it's great to see the women, and it's great to see that they have momentum. Like one win under their belt against Tullow or against Tallaght, another win under their belt now. They're top of the league. So, fingers crossed that they can keep that momentum going now and keep the interest in it and try and get promoted up to Division 4 and play a higher standard of rugby next year. And it's just all about the foundations are being put in place now at the moment. So it's brilliant to see, and it's a lot of hard work done by a lot of underage coaches over the last few years, and that's where it starts. So we're optimistic and we're hopeful that the girls can just stay going now and maintain that momentum.
Yeah,
I told James they played really, really well. One of the parents and the Carlow parents went up, their daughter was playing, and just said it was some game. But they said the abuse that they were getting and the ref was getting from De La Salle. I think there was only three supporters, Kilkenny supporters there, and the rest were De La Salle. I said it was absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
So I said it's just great that the girls turned around and bet them off the park by all sounds of it.
That's it, And there's a girl playing number 8, and I'm not quite sure how to pronounce her first name, but Lecky Hoban is her name. Apparently, this girl is class. She got the under-18 Girls Player of the Year last year. But by all accounts, from what I'm seeing, from what I'm hearing, she is just brilliant rugby player.
Cool.
And I think Willie Brennan's daughter is also in the mix now. She's still under 18. Mary Broderick and Willie's daughter. I can't remember her first name, but she was on the Southeast squad there, and Leinster squad for whatever reason. she got split open last week playing under 18s. But she's another girl to keep an eye on as well going forward. So look, it's great that
well, if she's a daughter, Willie, she'd be hard out and stubborn as a mule. So
yeah, and she is. I played tag rugby with her over the summer.
Brilliant. I agree.
She's brilliant.
Excellent. That's great.
That's good stuff. Lads, they're all back in action. James, I suppose we'll begin with you because you're out on the Saturday games. 3 losses the last time out for the 3 senior men or the J1's teams, but you've C Point at home this weekend, an important match as well, just to get that bit of a momentum back in there.
Yeah, important match. I said a few weeks ago, like C Point and Monkstown seem to be the runaway teams, so it's probably unfortunate that we have both of them back to back. Injury to Gary Dunn is a big negative for us. Like, he's gone for the season, as I said last week. Few players coming back. Liam Caddy will be back this week as well, albeit he's in Austria and enjoying himself at the moment because he's a teacher and he gets midterm breaks off. So little dig at the school teachers there. But we'd be hopeful with C Point coming down that we can do something. We can get something off them. For us in this division, our objective is to win as many of our home games as possible and pick up what we can on the road. That might seem like a negative way of looking at things, but you have to win your home games primarily. So Doc will be putting out a strong team. Remains to be seen what players are in what positions. There's talk about a slight change in around half back. There's potential that we could see a new out half coming in with Jake McDonald moving into 12. A guy that joined us there, a friend of Doc's came across from the UK to join us. His name is Jake Prattley. So he can play 9, 10, 12, 30, anywhere across the back line. But there's talk of him going to 10 and Jake going to 12 to try and get a little bit more, how would I say, go forward in the middle of the pitch, because Jake's an incredibly strong carrier, but also an incredible 10. So we're kind of going to see how that experiment works. Ed McDonald's going well. Look, everyone is going well. I just think it was probably an off day up in Monkstown 2 weeks ago, but this week is going to tell an awful lot about us. You know, we're still not safe in the league. We're still not going to win the league. Ashbourne are getting stronger. Dundalk are getting stronger. So, like we said last week, but one win, you're top of the world. One loss, the whole place is scrambling for cover and scrambling. It's crisis time. So this week now is a big one that we just have to bounce back. So fingers crossed that we do. Fingers crossed that we get a seconds team out as well this week, which never seems to be an issue for home matches. The issue with seconds seems to be when we're on the road, you know. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Just looking at Tullow, they were beaten last time out, and they've lost to Wicklow and Kildare now at this stage, but they up against Clondalkin this Sunday, so a bonus point win would go a long way there if they can do that as well. But they're out on Sunday for that, and Johnny Tobin isn't here to tell us how they're getting on, but Clondalkin are sitting around bottom of the table as well. So Tullow, I suppose, be confident for that one as well, especially with Clondalkin travelling down. Carlow, Tom, you're on the bus with a fairly long journey pointed in a northeasterly or northwesterly direction.
Oh, Longford. That's a beautiful trip over there. Yeah, absolutely. Nothing against Longford, beautiful county and everything, but no, I'm not looking forward to it. We have we have a good turnout in training for the last week, which is really good. Even with the week off, we had great numbers on the Tuesday and Friday. So we're fairly positive. Couple of young lads starting to come through. We got a new player in, just arrived in, Matthew O'Donovan. He's a hooker, played a little bit, played in the North, played Ulster Youth, and also played a bit with UCD 20s and UCD J1. So he came in out of the blue and looks a decent enough player. So hopefully he'll start getting a run on. He'll get a run on the seconds this weekend. Couple of young lads pushing for places. Young Keane Clark came through from the 18s last year. He's a tight head prop, starting to put a bit of pressure on. No injuries this week. Everyone full squad available at the moment, which would. We'd hope to get a win. Like if we're going to be there, it's not too often I'd be going this time, and hopefully I won't eat my words, but we'll be fairly confident of trying to get the win in Longford this weekend. I think the lads are training well. I think they're coming together. So I really believe that if they play as well as they can play, I think they will win.
Yeah, after a Wicklow, confidence must be high though. Even though you didn't win it, it was taken off you at the very end. But confidence must be high after that.
Well, after look, I said it last week. Like when you come off a pitch at the end of it, and your coach kind of says, "Look, lads, I'm actually happy." After losing the game, whereas the week before we won and we got hit. Yeah, so, I mean, I think they're thereabouts. As I say, we have this over 30. Was over 30 lads training. So you can't turn it down. And there's a lot of young fellas coming through. Look, that inexperience in certain areas, but I think our pack is starting to come together. If we could just get our lineouts working is a slight problem, but that'll come in time if as I say, if we can get those little details right this week, which hopefully we will. And I know I was joking earlier on saying that we're going to have to play on a carpet, but I think the 4G pitch will actually suit us. If we play on the 4G, I think it'll suit the backs. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, there was nothing worse than going to Longford on a wet weekend, because you just knew it was minus 5 or 6 points off from the get-go because they loved playing. It was a bog of a pitch. I played on it a few times. I hated playing up there, but they just seemed to have it down to a T. So, they're used to the heavy ground as well. Whereas if
the last time match went up, it was just before COVID, and we got beaten up there, and we should have won the game. But again, we got bogged down. Got bogged down in stupid areas again, and just there was so many chances that if it was dry ground, we went, our backs would have done a bit of damage. But this time, I hope now, if we are playing on that 4G, we'll hope to have a better result.
Absolutely. Well, fingers crossed for 3 solid wins at the weekend. Anyway, tough going in some cases, but sure, we'll see how we go. The weather hasn't been particularly great now the last couple of days, so the pitches are going to be soggy. Well, bar the 4G, Tom.
Yeah.
What we're seeing now is underage games are being called, or not called off, but underage trainings are being called off and stuff like that. I think that's where the benefit of having the 4G pitches come in, is that your underage teams can still stay training. There's going to be no pitch issues for them.
We were over, because we train with the girls in Tullow every Monday, and it is great to just walk out, walk out and play and come back off the pitch, and you're not covering and mucking and the kids actually turn up for it because they know, and even though the girls actually don't really like playing on the 4G, they love training on it. So it is a huge advantage to have. I'd say for any club to have a training area in 4G would be huge benefit. But I don't know about playing it week in, week out. That's the only issues we have.
Lads, a couple of Southeast squad selections named there during the week and everything, but the girls and boys, and a fair amount of local representation on it.
Brilliant. It was brilliant. I think we have 11 players between the two squads now. The under-17 game is just finished there. I'm not sure the score of it, but we had 6 players involved yesterday, plus another young fella. Zach was injured, so other for that we probably would have had 7. But I don't know if you were up at it, Tom, but it was about 31 points to 5 win against the Midland for the Southeast. All 6 of our players got a run out. Dan Ring at scrum half scored 2 tries and 3 conversions. Jimmy O'Brien, number 8, got a try. So for us, kind of selfishly, we're happy that of the 31 points tally, that 21 of them came for Kilkenny men. But as we said, as Tom said day one, we'd hope that these guys go on and go to get representative honours. But who are we developing players for the clubs or for other clubs? So let's hope we can keep hold of them in our own respective clubs, that when they're finished with their Southeast or go on to Leinster Youths and they're finished with that they stick around and go to adult rugby with us.
Yeah, well, that's there's a huge. The IT in Carlow is actually a huge benefit to it, and I'd say to both clubs, because if kids can get in, if we can get kids into, if the courses are there and they go to the IT, and I'd say Kilkenny lads might have more of a chance because they might actually stay. Well, they might stay in Carlow for a while, but it's traveling somewhere other than home, whereas Carlow lads don't want to be still at home at Mammy, but with the way things are going with accommodation and all sorts in the colleges, and I think the likes of the IT will do an awful lot better. Because we've noticed like a couple of the lads that are coming back this year that we have staying playing with us, they're all in the IT. They didn't get their courses anywhere, didn't get their courses in other places, so they're back in the IT. They did apply, but they're in the IT and they're back playing, so if we can have those local lads sticking around, like we had nobody actually on the under 18s, but we had 6.
6,
Keane Cashman in at 6, Tyrone in at 8, Noah Cope at 9. I don't know where he got to. Definitely didn't get that from Zola. Sorry, Derek, you're going to be laughing at that one. We've been on the bench then. We've Jack Doyle, Killian Moore, another fantastic player, and Brian Broderick, another really good footballer coming through. So we'd be happy with that. The girls haven't for us haven't come through yet because we're only working on the 14s and 16s, and from the the 16s are mainly Tullow. So I think a couple of the girls are starting to come through from the older girls. The older 16s will be coming through, which is great. and hopefully next year then we might get a couple from Carlow come through into the 16s.
Yeah, who did we have today involved? Donald Kelly was hooker. Sean Dunn was 7. James Hughes is 13. Sean Roberts is on the bench. Nick Galway's young lad Rory is on the bench as well. So, hopefully, like that, we actually had nobody involved with the girls. Alice Brennan, Mary and Willie's daughter, probably would have been one if she got split open there a couple of weeks ago. But I think it's great to see so many local kids involved in the southeast. Between Kilkenny, Tullow, Carlow, we seem to be dominating those selections. Good to see Wexford picking up players for a few years. Wexford weren't producing, but they seem to be again.
Yeah, Wexford are producing a serious amount of players up the line from, but they're not going back.
There's a lot of them in Dublin, isn't there?
They're all in Dublin. Because I know there's a good few gone to Clontarf, young Papa Wells at Lansdowne. Like any of their good players are all. That's even the harder. I suppose just from location in the southeast is probably the hardest thing for Wexford. It's a long trip down.
Yeah, like they're an hour and 10 from Waterford. They're an hour from Carlow. They're an hour and 20 from Dublin. So longer. It is a long trip down. All right, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's just lads move away and they don't come back.
And am I right in saying that Buddy Murphy is somehow involved with Wexford as well? Or is he just with Enniscorthy?
I think it's just Enniscorthy.
Was it? Because I remember years ago when I was coaching, I think his young fella was playing for Wexford or something. I don't know. But...
Oh, no. You're right. He was managing Enniscorthy, but they joined up at Wexford under 18s.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
Yeah. They joined together for under 18s. But they've joined together now. Enniscorthy, as I think I said before, they've joined with the Wexford and Enniscorthy joined for the girls rugby. And I think for their women as well.
Yeah, but actually, even after we finished up last week, as I said, Mick McGrath, he texted me and he was he was right in what he was saying. Like I said, he had a formula, but his point is, one of the things that he did say back to me was that it's not a formula, it's just coaching teams based on their merits and where he feels that they needed work. And that some players, it's back to the under 16 southeast and the under and so forth, but some players will develop later than other players as well. Like, so from our own perspective, we probably have 6 or 11 guys involved between the two southeast teams over the last 2 days, but you know what, there could be another 8 or 9 or 10 fellas there who will mature later, and fingers crossed we can get them through as well,
Yeah,
absolutely. Let's turn our attention to Interprovincial. They played their last URC matches last weekend, so they're gone into international camps now. So all the URC comes to a halt. So this is a bit unusual. Usually we'd expect to see sort of weakened teams, provincial teams going out to play different matches and continuing on the competition, but they're all on breaks now as well. Leinster went over to Glasgow, did a fairly good game against them, did the job. Connacht's win over Ulster was pretty impressive, and Munster lost to Osprey. So a bit of a strange weekend. Wasn't expecting the Connacht result now. I didn't think that have it as easy, so to speak.
One thing that's standing out to me with Connacht is their defence isn't brilliant. Their defence has been brilliant. They were so frugal against Munster. Were unfortunate to lose it. Mm-hmm. They were really frugal against Ulster last week as well. I think Colin Tucker's doing an incredible job with Connacht on defence. Your man Andy Farrell, Andy Friend, his philosophy seems to be coming through there as well. I think Connacht could be, they already are a surprise package. And your man Mac Hansen is ripping it up. Jack Carty is playing brilliant. Mm-hmm. So, I think I'm not surprised by what Connacht are doing. That Connacht beat Ulster last week. And that's saying a lot because Ulster have been going very well.
Yeah, but look at Ulster's game. When you actually look at the Ulster's games, they haven't really played anyone as such. They had the Lions, they had who else? One of the Italian teams, whereas Connacht kind of had a tough enough coming through, and especially like just barely losing to Munster when they should have won. They had to be in their bonnet and were ready. They were going up there, and their intention of playing in the Aviva to get the crowd. Like it was a huge move by them to move that to the Aviva.
It was a big risk.
Oh, yeah. Connacht made the call, was it?
Yeah, I think it was Connacht made the call. Yeah,
Connacht gave up home advantage.
Yeah, it's their home fixture.
It was.
But they reckon that there'd be so many people trying to get to it that there would be so many people would lose out on tickets that they went to the Aviva.
Okay, that's interesting.
And they did. They played really, really well. I think
It was a great match.
We said about Jack Carty and those, like he is playing. He's definitely playing so well. I know he's not going to get his chance this time. Stephen, you were saying earlier on that Andy Farrell said he'd get a chance just wants to look at Joey Carberry and that, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I think he's on fire.
Yeah, no, he is. He's
the
in.
10.
Yeah. What's his name? Andy Farrell has said that yes, he hasn't picked his squad entirely off form. He knows Jack Carty's doing well. He says he's been in contact with Jack Carty and he's talking to him. But that the reason why he's not in the squad is because he wants to see how Byrne and Carberry go. So there's an experiment happening with Japan, Argentina, and the All Blacks now in a couple of weeks. So we'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. See what the story is, and then hopefully Jack might get a look in for the Six Nations if he, if he impresses.
I'd hope so. He's solid, he is solid, and his attacking play seems really good, and he's a good ball carrier. One thing that always strikes me about him is he's very calm on the ball. He always seems calm, and I always say that good out halves always seem calm and always seem to have time, and he seems to have both of them lately.
Yeah. I think that only Dan McFarlane was too happy though. I think his comments during the week, that Ulster seem to fall at the big games. That they seem to fall under pressure when that crunch game comes up. I mean, if we were to take their form, they're all informed that young Noak is like flying. Everyone's talking about them, and then the pressure comes on, big game, and boom, they fold again.
Yep.
And they did the same against Leinster last season as well. I don't know.
Yep. And then they say that Connacht usually get it up or up at a couple of % for the interprovincial matches, against the Leinsters and the Munsters and that. They always seem to ratchet it up a gear or two as well. But no, Connacht were full value for that win now at the weekend. It was impressive stuff now, in fairness to them.
Munster were chronic.
Yeah, Munster were bad. And this, like you said, is off the back of the game that they probably should have lost to Connacht. What I'm starting to see is some of the same sort of patterns of last year begin to creep in, even with stronger squads out as well, which is a bit worrying.
They were absolutely
brutal.
It was so hard to watch. It was absolute. It was just because the players that were on the pitch, like they had young was out half.
Crowley.
Young Crowley, Jeff Crowley. I mean, he didn't play badly.
No, I think he did well.
But the whole team, like, were doing these up and unders, box kicking, one-dimensional rugby, back to square. I mean, Ospreys hadn't even a foot. They were missing so many players. I know they were up for it, but it was a car crash because everything went wrong. First one was Jack O'Donoghue after me talking about who, last week replacing Peter O'Mahony and maybe getting a chance for the Irish club because he's with his leadership and his line out ability and stuff. Jesus, like the first ball he took into contact was ripped out of his hands. Ty Byrne the same, went to ground, got ball ripped out of his hands. Everything, no matter what they did, it was a car crash. So they seriously going to have to something has to be looked at because you have a decent squad there for the first time in a long time. There's young kids coming through, and it is just, and it's not that even looking at Leinster saying that Leinster are the perfect thing, or are the clean machine that they normally are. I mean, they have their faults at the moment, but they're just so they play such a different game. They're offloading on Friday night. It was just everything. Their whole way they played was so good and so enjoyable to watch. Whereas it was like, it really was. It was just so hard to watch.
Yeah, I was taken aback by that Munster game, and the scrum wasn't great. It just all over the park. And that box kicking thing drives me crazy. Even bringing on. Yeah.
Well, it's not too often. Yeah, but it's not too often to turn and when you're watching the Premiership rugby over the weekend and looking at the highlights and looking at the scores and the games the way that they're playing. Normally, English rugby was a lot of it was boring, and Saracens would be just taking it up and big packs and so on. But the scores that were got over the weekend on the English Premiership was absolutely fantastic.
Reece Samet got a score there, was out of this world.
Yeah.
But there was who was it? Harlequins got one just out, got a little offload right before the line. Like
Tom Brandt again.
Came in, just a little hand up. Winger jumped in the corner. I don't know how many good tries there were over the weekend, but when you watch, like,
highlights.
Then you have Leinster and you have, like, I mean, the Ulster Connacht game was quite good, but then you watch just that chronic. And
I actually
watched good for Irish rugby.
I watched La Rochelle and Toulon on Sunday evening. Toulon are falling asunder now. They have 15 injuries, but one of the things is that James Coughlin is now head coach or temporary head coach at Toulon.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And like, I mean, I actually went looking, like, the amount of Irish coaches, like we spoke about Flannery and Felix Jones previously, and you have O'Gara there now, you have Noel McNamara, you have Mark McCall. Irish coaches are doing very well around Europe.
And Mike Prendergast there somewhere too.
Prendergast with Racing, yeah.
Yeah. It's unbelievable to see. What did O'Gara get in trouble?
I think he might have had words in the referee in the ear of a fourth official or something. They didn't quite say on the report I read last week, but they said that he has a disciplinary hearing for an altercation with the fourth official.
He's allowed. He's allowed on the sideline this week. He's allowed to watch the game. He's allowed to be there this week. But I didn't see what it was for. Like, I watched some of the highlights of the game, but I didn't hear. Just saw that he was in a bit of bother.
He's I wouldn't say he's the sort of fella that keeps his holds his counsel very well on the sideline. He was also inducted into the Rugby Hall of Fame, wasn't he, this week, or was that? Am I behind the trend there, or something like that? IRB Hall of Fame, O'Gara's been inducted into it, I think.
I never heard.
Didn't hear.
I thought I'd heard that.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, bit of a legend. The other, there's we won't get to see the provinces out for a couple of weeks now, obviously with the international stuff on as well, but you'd hope that a couple of things be turned around, especially from Munster's point of view, because I think they're going into the Champions Cup then pretty much nearly straight away after that, and it's hell for leather then into Christmas, into December. It'll be back to back, so you don't really have time to try stuff out. Like, that's why these games during the international window were good. You could try out a couple of lads and get them a couple of games, and that, that's what I feel is going to be missing big time, especially when it comes to Europe.
Like, you look at Kieran Frawley, like, he's ripping it up at the moment, but like, he's on the scene. He's probably into his third season with Leinster, third proper season with Leinster, but like, it was these international breaks that gave players like him the shot. They're not going to get it now, and I don't necessarily agree with it myself that that the URC stops because of the autumn internationals are happening. I think it's silly myself.
Well, it's destroy. Either send the South Africans home and let them play. Let's play their own
interpros.
Games. They play their own interpros, if you want to call it that. Let them play each other down there, and let the Northern Hemisphere then just play the way we are, because, like, whatever about Leinster will play their players. Connacht have no choice because they have only X amount on their squad, so they're only going to play similar. And Ulster probably having a massive squad, but will play a couple of young fellas, and Leinster are probably the only province out of this would have actually played. Like, they would have played so many players during this break, but coming back in, if because of this, then there's going to be players in Munster definitely won't get a chance. There's players in Connacht a couple of players probably won't get a chance, and again the same with Ulster.
Yeah, one of you fellas mentioned bringing back the Ireland A team. It was one of our conversations recently. It came up in conversation online. I seen it the other day, because of this whole thing. Exactly what you'd said. There's a real case for it, isn't there?
I think so.
Yeah,
I absolutely think so. I mean, wouldn't it be better for Jack Carty to be involved in an Irish A team over the next 3-4 weeks? Instead of sitting up, going train and playing matches over the next 3 or 4 weeks in Irish A team, instead of sitting up in Galway, not getting any game time, where he can actually get exposure albeit not at out and out international, but at A level, actually show what he can do and prove to Andy Farrell that, yep, look at it, call me in here, I'm ready, which we all know he is. But I think there's a case for it, personally.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and Doak and all these fellas as well, just to keep her lit, like keep the fires lit, and keep these players taking over as well. I used to enjoy the A games. I used to, like I think I said before, went up to Tallaght to watch a couple of them, interviewed Ian Dowling and Johnny Murphy and those fellas when they were getting runs out. Fergus McFadden got a run out with them as well, I think, that time before he made his senior international debut and that. But it was great to see those players like go out, throw on the Irish jersey and go, okay, let's see who we've got.
Yeah, but
there's so many ways to watch it now. I mean, those games they could play Ireland, they put it online, and like if you streamed it live, the same as the way they did Leinster Cup, the Junior Cup and stuff like that. Like if you have that being played on a Friday evening before the autumn internationals, I mean, you could have 3 games there. Even if you can't get if Japan don't have an A team or Argentina don't have an A team, I'm sure there's other A teams around that would have come and played.
Even Scottish ones or Welsh. Yeah.
And just had a few games. And we would have, I mean, you know yourself, you like going to, the reason you go to the Pro 14, whatever it is now, if you're going to those games, you went to see the younger players coming through. It didn't matter what province you were watching, you were always looking out to see, oh, look at this young fella. He's, he might have played Irish 20s or whatever, and he's getting a run out with Leinster or Connacht or Munster or whatever. Like, you got to see those lads. Like, I remember going to see Conor Murray's first game for Munster, and it was kind of, who is this fella coming through? It was against Australia. Like, it was a fantastic thing to see. And all of a sudden then, he's the Irish scrum half.
Yeah.
So there's so many players that we've seen play at different levels.
Yeah, the other side could be let them back to the AIL and let them play AIL rugby.
Yeah, you had mentioned that. Yeah, that'd bring up the profile of that as well.
Absolutely.
You know,
we don't watch like AIL is kind of gone, isn't it? If you're not involved in it, you don't think about it.
No. I remember it used to be on telly on a Saturday. I remember seeing Cork Constitution playing De La Salle Palmerstown on the telly one Saturday evening in the 90s. It was brilliant watching it, but it's gone.
But you see, there's something else that needs to be brought up, and it's back to the streaming service. If you have streaming services, why the hell those games can't be shown? Because I would love when there's nothing else on to watch and see what's coming through. I mean, everyone's saying about AIL's gone, but AIL's gone because we can't see it anymore.
Can't see it, exactly.
But I'd love to see Clontarf and Shannon or Lansdowne and Gary Owen hammering off each other. Like, I mean, those are the games that you used to love on a Saturday.
Yeah.
You used to love watching on a Saturday as a young fella, you know.
Yeah. RT touched on it a couple of years ago to shut a couple of the cup games and bits and pieces and that.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, but they only dabbled into it and left it again. You know, it needs a solid marketing plan. You know, no point in just talking about it. I suppose they need to or come up with a streaming package or something, as you said, Tom. Just a plan.
Well, you saw it for the all the Super Rugby games were all streamed. They were all through Rugby, whatever it is, Rugby Lad, or whatever the one was.
Rugby Pass or something.
Rugby Pass, that's it. Rugby Pass during the summer. Like, that was great value. Like, I paid the €30 and watched all the Super Rugby. You know, just something to watch. And if we had something similar in Ireland, that you had a website there done up with all the different clubs that you go watch the games on it and pay €30 a season. I'm sure a lot of people will pay that €30 just to cover the cost of it.
That's it.
Absolutely. That's it, lads. We're coming towards the end of the podcast. We'll probably wrap it up there. Best of luck with your matches at the weekend. And Tullow, of course, in Johnny's absence. Fingers crossed.
He's texting there now at the moment. He told us to fire ahead without him.
All right. 30 minutes in and counting. That's the group. That's it. No, looking forward now to the international matches in a couple of weeks. And like you said, Tom and lads, it's an awful pity that there's nothing filling that gap in between. Like, obviously your own clubs to keep us busy and stuff, but when it comes to stuff on the telly and that, there's just a bit of a gap.
Yeah.
Something to be discussed.
You could still have the same. You could have You could still have the same for Towns Cup, for Towns Cup finals and stuff like that on the same website. Someone would just come up with it. There you go. Somebody wants to get a website together and make money.
That's
There
it.
they are.
That's it. I don't know if the Leinster branch should be too happy with us for that. But
Yeah, well, maybe the Leinster branch someone should do it anyway to have a website for it.
Absolutely.
One of the things, Tom, you're probably down to the Southeast meeting, but I think one of the things that all clubs are working on now is to try and get more referees involved.
Yeah,
it's a major issue. I think Munster put it out very well last week that they had 200 games in the province, and I think they only have 75 or 80 referees in a weekend. It's going to be a big issue.
We are the Southeast is one of the best.
Worst, or one of the best. Sorry, yeah.
We're having referees. Like I see, even we had a young fella there just started refereeing. He's just an affiliate ref, but he refereed the girls against the tie, and geez, he was brilliant. And I said to him after the game, you should definitely do it full time because we're lacking in referees, and especially young referees. So hopefully, and the women are great. The women that are refereeing, if you watched any of the women that are refereeing any of the what you call them, the URC games, they're really, really good. So.
Yep. So I just thought I'd mention it just to see anyone listening who was involved in the game and had to give up playing and wants to get back involved. It could be a good way for people to get back involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good one, James. Thanks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Tom.
Lads,
I wasn't
pleasure.
even at the Southeast meeting, Tom, and I heard about
it. We just get Johnny on board back again because
that's it. I wonder could we get him refereeing as well?
You never know.
Johnny, I'm afraid that would be a last call.
Anyway,
lads, great talking to you.
Take care. Talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week. Thanks for that, lads. Tom Crotty and James Blanchfield. Thanks, Tom.
No bother.